Hey everyone! So for tonight's class, I'm going to be discussing how tech tools can be utilized to enhance lessons through using them with visualizations and the learning environment. And I would actually like to start by showing the concept map that I created for the lesson. So the misconception topic that I hope will be clarified by the end of the lesson is in sexually reproducing organisms, half of the organism's body cells contain DNA from the mother and half contain DNA from the father. So I personally feel some of the reasons why students have these misconceptions is one, they might look more like one parent than the other. Two, they might believe the mom has more influence over the traits of a daughter, whereas dads have more influence genetically over sons. And then lastly, they simply don't understand how inheritance works or what genotype versus phenotype actually means. So I'm going to be going over the ways I hope to clarify the misconception using visualizations through tech tools a little later in the presentation. Now, some of the main objectives that I hope will be achieved. Our students are going to be able to explain the difference between genotype versus phenotype, as well as how every trait we analyze gets influence from both parents. They're also going to be able to break down the process of pedigrees and karyotyping, and lastly, be able to analyze more complex Punnett square problems like incomplete and codominance, multiple alleles, autosomal disorders, and sex-linked traits. So these objectives in particular are based on the standard Bio 3.2.2, where they will be predicting offspring ratios based on a variety of inheritance patterns, including dominance, codominance, incomplete dominance, multiple alleles, sex-linked traits, karyotyping, and pedigrees. So now I'm going to give you a little overview of the actual lesson that I designed. So for the first 10 minutes, they're going to be watching a short flip on the background of Gregor Mendel, followed by a mini PowerPoint overview that I'm going to do through direct instruction on some of the key vocabulary with simple genetics. They're then going to be moving into an activity called the genetics of minions, where they're given the genotype and phenotype for both minion parents, and then actually create Punnett squares to determine the genetic probabilities of the baby minion for every trait. They're then going to draw out all three minions. Once they complete this, they're then going to transition into a flip video I made called the Genetics of Harry Potter. And with this, I'm actually going to be pausing the video at specific points so I can team teach with the concepts of the video and so we can have some class discussion. After that, they're then going to go into the drag and drop Punnett Square online system to practice simple genetics and copy the questions asked in their lab notebook as a write-up summary. Now I feel the evaluation portion will take about a week to complete, and with this they will be using the digital Storybird platform to create a story on inheritance and a digital pedigree. And I want to specifically go into these two tech tools on the next slide where visualizations are present. The tech tool utilized during the actual lesson is the drag and drop Punnett square. With this, they actually have to place both parents' genotypes in their designated locations in the software to determine the offspring probabilities. The other two tech tools that I think will be great evaluation measures for seeing if the misconception has been clarified are the Storyboard and the digital pedigree. So in the Storybird platform, they're going to be creating a 5-page short story where they will have to clarify how inheritance works, therefore also clarifying the misconception. In the visual pedigree, they're going to be given a pedigree template and have to recreate the template like an actual family tree. In pedigrees, men are represented by squares and women are represented by circles. So with this, men have to be in square picture frames and women have to be in circle picture frames. And they're then going to choose from a list of disorders to illustrate. And the student example that I included in the presentation above is specifically on albinism. Lastly, they will actually have to include Punnett squares based off of their inherited disorder, how it has been inherited with each marriage on the example. Now, the reason why I chose this topic is because I have a huge passion for the incorporation of visual arts in my classrooms. Now, I also think that using technology, by incorporating visualizations, students are able to process complex topics on higher levels of learning. And it's important to note that it can be in many forms: graphs, pictures, diagrams, animations. And my hopes, again, with incorporating these tools is that students can better understand that every trait a person inherits has influence from both parents. The teacher's main role will be to show how to operate the sites through direct instruction, The students would be actually using each platform to design a text or picture representation of the topics assigned or practice Punnett squaring. And then lastly, students, when I did this lesson with my kids, had the most difficulty with the digital pedigree because they did not have long enough to play with the paint program before having to do the assignment. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation and the lesson. Thank you.